Today, I want to talk to you about something that's costing guys real money every single month. And most of them didn't even realize that this was going to happen until it was too late. I had someone in my comments, tell me they're paying $400 a month to store their car. Another guy, over $430, like $437 to be exact. Neither one of them truly budgeted for these types of expenses. So here's the thing. When people buy a car, they usually think of the really obvious stuff, which is the purchase price of the car, if the car needs restoration, any specific parts that they need to find for that car. Nobody is doing math on, where the car is actually going to live for the next, 10 plus years when you own it. And that number adds up faster than you could ever imagine. Now, I'm not a guy that works for a storage place. I don't own storage facilities. I'm just a guy that actually used to store his car away from his house. And it got to the point where I got the invoice and went, why am I paying this? This is crazy. So today I'm going to break down not only the rents, but the rest of the stuff that makes up a $3,000 plus a year issue that is affecting a lot of guys out there with classic cars. Now, I'm going to broke it down into 4 categories because why not? Yeah. Okay, so the first one, and this one's the obvious one, like, duh, Dennis. Yes, it's the actual rent. But there isn't just a price for rent. There's a lot of little caveats with rent. First, there's your basic outdoor storage. You put a cover on your car, you stick it out, like usually on paved ground, hopefully, or at worst on grass. Then you got like your indoor storage, which is basically your little oven that you shove your car in. No climate control, also very cold in the winter. And then the third, of course, is climate controlled. And the gap between outside storage and climate control is, well, it's enormous. And that $385 I mentioned, that was a climate controlled unit. And that is the average cost in most areas, if you could find them. And you know what I mean now. The difference between a car sitting underneath a tarp, outside in the elements, and it being in a climate-controlled area is a massive gap. Now, this is real money every month, and guys are actually paying this whether they drive the car or not. And a lot of times they're not. Second, the insurance. Now, this one's going to catch a lot of people off guard because they assume when it's stored that maybe your insurance company will give you a break. Sometimes, no, not really. Here's what I mean. If you have like what most guys do, which is agreed value on your car, which I have, you and the insurance company have come up with a value that seems logical and reasonable for your car. And now you shook hands. And if anything bad happens, hey, now you have an idea of what you're going to get. Now, the coverage doesn't change just because the car is stuck away in a storage unit. No. You still have that on there because it still can catch fire. It can still get flooded. It can get stolen. I mean, these things can happen. It's kind of like paying for a gym membership, but you're not going to the gym. You're paying for insurance and you're not really using it. But now, this is the part that the guys don't see. A lot of companies will actually charge you a surcharge if the car is not in your physical domain, like at your house. This is a big deal. And think about it from their side now. They are risk managers. That's what insurance does. This is how they stay in business. Now, if your car is sitting in your garage like mine is, I live right here. I'm here every day. It's harder to come in and just take the car and go away because there's activity around my house with my neighbors. Everybody can see who's coming or going. But now if you're sitting at a storage unit across town, you don't know who's coming in and out. You don't know exactly how good their security is. You don't know how good that lock is. You don't know who's in the thing next door to you. This is a real problem, and they're going to price it accordingly. And I'm going to tell you my situation that I had made me even more nervous, and for a few different reasons. Okay, so my Charger was stored at a warehouse down in the business district in Tampa. It was down there for a while, and I generally wasn't sure if something happened, if the building was on fire, got flooded, got robbed, if my car is actually really covered, because I never bothered checking. Of course not. Why would I? Most people don't. I mean, was I going to get a check if something bad happened? Because now I'm bringing it to a facility that is a business facility where other people have access to where my car is because it was part of their storage facility area. And it's on commercial property. And it's kind of thing you have to actually, which I didn't do, is call your agent and find out if you actually have to change your coverage in any way, shape, or form. Now, most guys who are storing a car like this, they're not doing this because they want to. You're doing it because you have to, because you've run out of space, which means that off-site premium is not an option. It's a part of the deal when you don't have a garage for your classic car. And that ties right into the next cost, because the same problem shows up, well, twice. Now, the third one, and this one is very dear to me, very personal to me, because trust me, this is the one that really caught me off guard and catch a lot of guys off guard. Most storage units don't have power, which I've had this happen. So there's no plugging in a trickle charger. There's no, going and making sure that battery stays all topped off and is in good working condition. It just sits there, dies, and drains and dies. Yeah, even if you unplug it, it's going to eventually just burn itself up from just the change in temperatures. But the other thing is happening is that the car is just sitting there on the tires in the same spot. So you develop flat spots on the tires. And when nobody's moving that, you get those floor fat spots because it sat there the whole time. But here's where the real problem is, and this is what happened to me. And this happened multiple times in different ways. I had my car, once again, I had stored 20 miles away from my house. What a pain in the ass. In the warehouse. And I didn't just have a battery problem, but the battery problem we'll start with, it was everything. The maintenance issues, because I had to go down there and go and work on it and then drive back. So it was an hour round trip total. And you know what I mean? So now because right now it's at my house. If something's wrong, I could walk out at 2 o'clock in the morning and start working on my car and fix it and know when things are going to be going wrong. Being it's 20 miles away, I actually had to discover things when I got there and saw the car. Now, one of the things that happened to me was my battery. It went flat. There was power here, but I had to go find the charger because it was put away by somebody else. I had to sit there, and I was supposed to be leaving as I'm charging the battery to get the car to start. Now, if the battery was bad, now I have another problem. I have to go out to the nearest parts store, hope they're open, buy an overpriced battery from a local parts store, and put it in my car. More time wasted. More time just not using my car. And, the other thing is when the car's far away, you have to bring tools, you have to bring parts that aren't there. And now with something that should have taken 10 minutes in your garage, it can take an entire morning or whole day or even a whole weekend. And talking about having a battery, if you have to buy a battery from a local place, they're not cheap anymore. They're $150, $300 depending. If your car is far away, you need that battery that day. You can't wait for Amazon and a discounted battery to get to you in a day. You need it then. So that's real money on top of all the other pains. And it's not just batteries. You can have bad fuel pump. I had that happen or whatever, and the car's not nearby. So every one of those small, normal problems turns into a big deal because you just can't fix it on your own time in your garage. You got to plan the trip. You got to bring what you need. And then sometimes you just got to turn around and come back the next day because you couldn't get it done. The fourth one, and people don't think about this one, transportation and access. If that storage unit isn't your own garage like this, then your car, again, getting your car has a cost and time associated with it. You have gas, time, sometimes literally playing a flatbed, say that fast, to bring the car to have it worked on because you can't work on them in normal storage facilities. That 437 I mentioned earlier, that for that guy, that number includes a facility that is 20 minutes from his house. So every time he wants to go check on his car, wash it, start up, do anything, it's 40 minutes of travel time in his day. That's real time out of his week, his weekend, and that is worth something also. So let's add this up. Rent, that's the easy number. Insurance, that's all easy, hard number. Then you got your battery and all the other access problems, parts. You can get nickeled and dimed over time. And then sometimes it's just you also waste an entire afternoon or an entire weekend trying to sort something out on your car. Now, and then the last one, of course, is transporting it. If it's really a bad problem, you have no place there to work on it. Between the stuff that you can put a dollar time on and between the stuff that's actually just wasting your time and the hassle, you're looking at more than $3,000 a year. And that's real money. And that's before you count the days you're trying to deal with something that would be easy if the car was where you were. Now, here's the thing. I know a guy that broke this cycle. It was a guy at the Chrysler 300G. He was paying $400 a month to store his Barracuda. And we went, and he asked me, Dennis, can I get a lift in my garage? I have a 10-foot ceiling. Absolutely you can. So we found one on Amazon, found the place to install it. It was around $4,000. This guy is going to pay back himself in less than a year for that storage, and his car is now at his house, so he can keep an eye on it at all times, and he doesn't have to make round trips. I mean, that $4,000 is just on the rent. It didn't include gas going back and forth and all other expenses. And now here's where it gets really interesting, though. This cost runs the entire time you own the car, whether you drive it or not. So that part is completely true. But here's the bigger thing. Every single one of these costs, the insurance bomb, the dead battery, wasted afternoon, all that traces back to a root problem. The car isn't where you are. That's the whole game right there. It's really not four separate costs. It's just compounding of one giant problem, adding cost to it. There's no space at your home. It shows up 4 different ways on a bill, and honestly, on your calendar, it just steals your time. And that's just one part of owning one of these cars actually cost. That's not the whole picture. And look, this whole video exists because you guys told me these numbers in the comments, and I'm not guessing. That's real money that people like you watching this are spending on their car. So, drop the actual storage costs if you have any in your comments below. Even tell me about adding lifts, building a building. I generally want to know what you're paying because a lot of people out there watching this video are going to get a surprise, especially if they don't own a car yet. And, because if you have a buddy that hasn't gotten a car yet and is looking for one, share this for him. So this might save him like an entire weekend of trying to figure out how to budget to keep his car. And remember, if you have a classic car or something fun to drive, take it out because you'll make someone's day. It will be your own. And I'll see you in the next one.